Hey guys, I'm excited for this video. I'm going to be talking about how to camp in the rain, and in particular I'm going to talk about 9 tips for how to hike, backpack, camp in the rain and be happy about it. So I'm going to divide it up into 3 main sections. First, we're going to talk about packing and some tips for how to pack well for when you're going camping and it's going to rain or you think it might rain. And then second, I'm going to have a group of tips that are all about dressing and how you want to dress yourself up so that you're ready for the rain. And then third and finally, we're going to talk about what you want to do with your tent for camping in the rain to make sure that you stay dry and can sleep well at night. So that's what we're going to get into. We'll start with the number 1 tip. Let's get started. Okay, tip number 1 is to waterproof your gear individually in stuff sacks. So this applies both if you're backpacking or if you have like a duffel bag or a suitcase and you're car camping. Okay, so with a backpack, which is what I have here, or for a different bag, you basically are gonna have 2 options for how you wanna waterproof it. You can put a rain cover or like a trash bag or something like that over and around it, or within the bag, you can use Ziploc bags, trash bags, or I like these waterproof stuff sacks. This is a Sea to Summit stuff sack, and I really like these. And you can use either of these methods, either waterproofing it on the outside or putting it in individual bags on the inside. Personally, I like to use internal like bags like this. I like to waterproof my gear from the inside, and there's a couple reasons for that. One is just organization, and it can actually just generally help you organize and pack your stuff in better. But second is, if you are hiking or out and about and you're getting a lot of rain, or think if you're carrying a bag and you go over a river and you fall in, like this can help you both for rain and a situation like that where the external cover isn't gonna keep everything dry, it's just gonna like wick some of the rain away. And so personally, if I'm going camping in the rain or I am just expecting wet conditions, I like to pack away everything inside of my bag, inside of a waterproof stuff sack, a Ziploc bag or a trash bag, something like that, to make sure that even if my bag gets wet, the rest of my gear will be dry. All right, tip number 2 is waterproofing your sleeping bag. So one of the worst things that can happen to you on a camping trip of any kind is going to your campsite, being ready to go to bed, and having a wet sleeping bag. That's like a camping, backpacking nightmare. You don't want that. And so you want to make sure that you waterproof your sleeping bag. And you can do that by just taking the regular stuff sack that comes with your sleeping bag and putting a trash bag inside of it and tying it up. That won't completely make it waterproof. Like if you submerge it, it's still gonna get wet, but it'll usually keep the rain off. And that's what I used to do until I got this stuff sack. So this is my sleeping bag here, and I have it packed away in a, I think it's, yep, Sea to Summit again. And this is a waterproof stuff sack for my sleeping bag. And so this is really great because even if I drop my rain cover for my backpack, and the outside of my backpack gets all wet, this cover is still gonna keep my sleeping bag dry. Tip number 3 is going to be when you're packing your stuff up on your backpack, or if you have a different bag, a suitcase, whatever it is, make sure that you put your rain gear in a place that's easily accessible. So I already have mine on. I've got my raincoat, my rain pants, all that jazz. I've got it on already. But if it wasn't raining yet, it's already raining, but if it wasn't raining yet and I'm expecting that it might rain, then it's a really good idea to put it on the outside of your pack so that you can get to it quickly if it starts to rain. So this can be really important, especially if you're in a place that kind of has a variable climate where it can go from sun to rain in a matter of a few minutes. So be prepared, pack away your rain gear on the outside of your pack. Okay, now for tip number 4, we're gonna be transitioning into the clothing part of the video. And so tip number 4 is one of the most underrated pieces of gear in my experience, and one thing that you really need to invest in if you're gonna go hiking or camping in the rain and you expect you might get kind of wet, is a good pair of rain pants. So rain pants are kind of the unsung hero because everybody thinks, okay, yeah, I gotta bring a rain jacket, but rain pants can be just a huge win if you have a good pair of them. And the pair that I have here, I think these are just a pair of Columbia rain pants. And one nice thing about them, some people will use gaiters, which is kind of something to keep rain from going into your boots when you're camping. But if you have a good pair of rain pants, you should actually be able to use some Velcro and kind of seal the rain pants around your boots to make sure that the water's going off of your boots instead of into your boots. So the rain pants can keep your legs dry, your center, your core dry, and it can also help get the rain away from the middle of your boots to help keep your feet dry. So it makes a huge difference. If you're going camping in the rain, then definitely think about getting a good pair of rain pants. Tip number 5 is gonna be about layering. So if you've kind of gone camping, hiking, that kind of thing before, you might be familiar with the idea of layering. But if you're not, I'm gonna break it down for you real quickly here. So on the outside here, I have my rain pants and I have my rain coat, but then underneath this, I've got like some Under Armour, and then underneath that, I have like a polyester shirt. And so 2 things I wanna mention about layering. Number 1 is don't wear cotton if you're expecting to get wet, because when cotton gets wet, it's gonna make you cold, and that can be bad, especially when you're in low temperatures or cold temperatures. And so try to wear things that are polyester, wool, and nylon. And then when you're doing layers, then you wanna think about, what can I wear such that if I get pretty hot, I can take off of a layer and cool down, but if I get cold, I can just add 1 layer to stay warm. And so when I go camping, I'll usually have like a shirt like this that's like a polyester shirt, and then like an Under Armour layer, and then I don't have it on right now, but I might have like a thicker sweater type material, and then I can put this on top. And when I put all of that together, it can be quite warm, but you kind of have the adjustment possibilities of layers doing it that way. And so tip number 5 is kind of those 2 things. You've got your layers so that you can adjust your temperature while also staying dry, and then avoiding cotton and going for something like polyester, wool, and nylon. Tip number 6 now is, and this may seem obvious, but it's probably not actually obvious. Tip number 6 is to pack an extra set of dry clothes that you're going to sleep in. So you want to have dry clothes for however long you're going to be camping or hiking, but it's particularly important to make sure that you have dry clothes to sleep in, because that's going to make a world of difference for how good a sleep you get and how warm you're going to be at night. So make sure you specifically put in a little waterproof bag an extra set of clothes for sleeping in, and that's going to make a world of difference for you. For point number 7 now, we're transitioning into the tent setup portion of what to do with your tent when you're camping in the rain. So point number 7 is to test your tent to make sure it's waterproof before you go camping. So I've gone camping before. I went on a full backpacking trip in Canada to, it's Golden Ear Provincial Park is the park we went to. And we went camping and we used my tent, and the tent had worn the waterproofing off of the inside. And right before I went on this trip, I tried to re-waterproof it, but I didn't test it. And we get out on this trail, and it just pours for days while we're out there. And when we were in the tent trying to get dry, it was literally raining from the tarp to the inside of our tent. And that was pretty miserable. Like, you don't want to do that. So make sure, even if you've just re-waterproofed your tent, make sure that you test it before you take it out on a trip where you think you might get rained on. Tip number 8 is all about setting up your tent in the rain. So there's a couple things that you need to keep in mind to do this well so that you can keep your stuff dry on the inside. So first of all, when you're choosing a location to put up your tent while it's raining out, you want to be really mindful of where you're putting your tent, because if you're on a big sort of a valley or a decline, you might find that if it rains a lot, you get a little bit of a river going through your tent, which you really don't want. And so if you're camping, it's good to try to put your tent on the high ground so that you're not gonna have problems with flooding during the night if it is raining a lot. And also if there's sort of like dips in the ground around where you put your tent, you wanna try to avoid those too so that you don't get like a channel of water going underneath your tent. So try to find a flat spot that's at somewhat high elevation so that you're gonna be safe from flooding and like streams of water going under your tent. So that's the first thing. And then also for tent setup, when you first start starting to set up camp, the first thing you want to do is you want to set up the tarp first. So if you can tie the ends of your tarp around a couple of trees or have a couple buddies hold the ends of your tent so that you can set the rest up underneath, that's going to really help you keep the body of your tent and even your other gear, if you want to throw it underneath the tarp while you're doing that, that can make a world of difference. And we actually made another video with some tips for how to set up your tent in the rain. And so we're gonna link to a card in this video so that you can click over to that and have a look at it if you want. Tip number 9, the final tip here for this video is to take an extra RAINFLY. This is especially true if you're car camping, but you could also do it on a backpacking trip if you don't mind carrying a little bit extra weight. And so with an extra RAINFLY, you can set it up, or an extra tarp, you can set it up so that it's like your outdoor living room, some people will call it. And doing that can actually just really improve your experience while you're camping if you're able to cook and chat and kind of hang out under this extra RAINFLY while you're camping, and you can kind of take off your raincoat and your rain pants and dry out, air out a little bit. You'll be a lot more comfortable and you'll have a nicer evening if you're able to have that extra RAINFLY giving you an outdoor, quote unquote, living room that's protected from the rain. So that's something to keep in mind and can make a big difference if you're camping and it's gonna rain out. So I hope you've enjoyed these tips. I hope you found them helpful. If you have other questions about how to be comfortable and enjoy camping in the rain, leave them in the comments. I'd be glad to answer them and hear from you. And also, if you like outdoor videos like this, subscribe to our channel. We'll be excited to see you back here for the next one. Bye.